The night was quiet, yet John felt uneasy as he walked through the alien marketplace. The air smelled of strange spices and heated metal. Glowing lights from alien stalls painted the streets in colors he had never seen on Earth. John was only a visitor, a simple worker from the human colonies. But tonight something in the air felt wrong. The alien city was usually alive with laughter, but now there was tension, whispers and hurried steps. He spotted a young alien girl near a food stall, her bright silver eyes wide with curiosity. She looked no older than 10, her thin arms hugging a small cloth bag close to her chest. Her species was known for their delicate frames, almost fragile compared to humans. She seemed alone, her gaze darting nervously as if she had lost someone. John slowed his steps, his instincts telling him to watch. The girl stepped into the middle of the street, her small figure lit by the neon signs above. And then it happened. An ear-shattering boom ripped through the air. The ground shook violently as fire erupted from a nearby transport vehicle. The explosion was sudden, fierce, and merciless. Shrapnel and flames tore through the marketplace, ripping stalls apart and sending people screaming. John's body reacted before his mind could. He saw the little girl frozen in shock, too terrified to move. Pieces of burning debris flew straight toward her. Sharp and deadly, without thinking, John ran, his boots slamming against the stone street. He threw himself over her small form, wrapping his arms around her in that instant. His only thought was simple: protect her. The blast wave slammed into his back. Pain tore through him as metal shards cut deep into his flesh. The heat of fire seared his skin, and smoke filled his lungs, yet John held the girl tight, shielding her tiny body with his own. He felt the sting of shrapnel pierce his shoulder and chest, but he refused to let go. Her muffled cry reached his ears, and it gave him strength. He pressed her close, whispering through clenched teeth, "You're safe, stay down." The world around him was chaos. Aliens screamed, flames roared, and rubble collapsed onto the streets. But John could hear nothing except the terrified heartbeat of the girl under his arms. He coughed, his vision blurring as blood trickled down his face. Darkness tugged at the edge of his mind. Heavy and cold, yet something strange happened. Just before his senses faded completely, John felt a faint glow beneath his chest. It was warm, steady, and unlike anything human. The necklace the girl wore pressed against his skin, pulsing with a strange light. For a brief moment he thought he heard whispers, voices speaking in a language he could not understand. The sound was soft, almost like a song, wrapping around his pain and pulling him deeper into darkness. His breathing slowed, his arms still locked around the girl. He felt the shrapnel deep inside him. Sharp and unmovable, he knew he should already be gone, but that strange glow seemed to hold him between life and death. The girl's tiny hands clung to his torn jacket. Refusing to let go, he wanted to tell her not to cry, but the words never left his lips. As John collapsed fully onto the broken street, the world went silent. No fire, no screams, only the fading rhythm of his own heartbeat. The last thing he saw was the girl's wide silver eyes staring at him, filled with shock and something more, gratitude. Then the shadows swallowed everything, and John's world turned to black. But deep inside the darkness, the whispers returned. They were louder now, wrapping around him, echoing inside his mind. Strange visions flickered before him, alien stars, unknown symbols and figures watching him silently. He felt weightless, as though his body was floating between two worlds. The voices grew urgent, as if calling him. As if deciding his fate, John wanted to ask who they were. But his mouth would not move. He drifted further, caught between the pain of his sacrifice and the mystery of the voices. And then, without warning, a final thought burned in his mind. Clear, strong and human, at least she's safe. The darkness took him completely. But the whispers did not stop, and somewhere, in the ruins of the marketplace, the young alien girl still clung to him. Refusing to let go, her tears fell on his chest, mixing with the glow of the strange necklace. And as the fire burned around them, something unseen had already begun to change inside John. John's eyes opened slowly, the world around him blurred and shifting like water. He gasped, expecting pain to shoot through his chest. But instead there was only a strange warmth. The memory of fire, of shrapnel, of blood rushed back into his mind. He remembered falling. He remembered the girl's terrified eyes, and then nothing but darkness. Now he was lying on a smooth surface that felt cold and polished. A dim blue light glowed above him, soft and unearthly. The air was heavy with a metallic scent, humming faintly as if machines were hidden in the walls. He blinked again and saw tall shadows moving around him. Figures stood in a circle, watching silently. Their faces were strange yet beautiful, skin shimmering faintly under the glow. Some had markings on their foreheads glowing like stars. Others carried staffs or strange devices that hummed with energy. Their eyes were fixed on him, some curious, others sharp with suspicion. John tried to sit up, but his body refused. A soft hand pressed gently on his shoulder. He turned and saw the young alien girl, the one he had shielded. Her silver eyes were wide but filled with relief. She whispered in her language, words he did not understand. Yet her tone was clear. It was gratitude. Where am I? John managed, his voice rough. No answer came from the circle of aliens, only low murmurs. They spoke to each other in their tongue, their voices echoing like wind through hollow stones. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward, his robes flowing as if made of light. He studied John closely, his glowing eyes narrowing. The girl clung to John's arm, refusing to let go. Her small frame shook as if afraid they would take him away. John could feel her heartbeat racing, her trust pressing into him like a shield. He understood then, whatever had happened, she was his only ally here. The taller alien raised a hand and touched a crystal embedded in his staff. A shimmering wave of energy passed over John, scanning him from head to toe. He shivered as strange symbols appeared in the air. Glowing with lines of light, the aliens leaned forward, their whispers turning sharper. John did not know their words, but he felt their doubt, their suspicion. One of them pointed at his chest. John looked down and froze. His torn shirt was gone, replaced by strange cloth wrapped around him. But through the fabric, faint lines of light pulsed beneath his skin. They spread outward from his chest like veins of fire, moving in rhythm with his heartbeat. Panic surged inside him. He pulled at the cloth, revealing faint glowing scars where the shrapnel had struck. It was impossible. He should have been dead, yet the wounds were closed, healed. But alive with energy that was not his own. The aliens murmured louder now, their glowing eyes narrowing further. John's hand trembled as he touched his chest. What did you do to me? He whispered. The girl pressed closer, shaking her head quickly, her hands gripping his arm tighter. She spoke to the tall alien in her language. Her voice desperate, the tall figure listened, his expression unreadable. 2 guards stepped forward, their weapons glowing faintly. John felt the tension rise, his instincts screaming danger. He tried to move, but his body was still weak. The girl placed herself between him and the guards, spreading her arms wide as if to shield him. Her small voice rang out in defiance, strong despite her fear. The circle of aliens fell silent. Even the tall figure paused, his glowing eyes fixed on the child. For a moment, John realized what she was doing. She was protecting him, just as he had protected her. The irony struck deep in his chest, filling him with both pride and sorrow. He had nearly died to save her, and now she was willing to stand against her own kind for him. The tall alien lowered his staff slowly. The guards hesitated, then stepped back at his signal. The circle loosened, though suspicion still hung in the air. The tall figure spoke finally, his voice deep, echoing through the chamber. Though John could not understand the words, he felt the weight of judgment in them. The girl looked back at John, her silver eyes shining. She touched her necklace, the same one that had glowed during the explosion. She placed it gently against his chest where the light still pulsed. The tall alien's eyes widened at the sight, and the whispers grew louder again. John realized then that whatever had saved him was not just luck. It was tied to the girl, and to that necklace confusion and fear swirled inside him. He wanted answers, but all he had were questions. Why was he alive? Why did his wounds glow? Why did these strangers look at him with both fear and awe? He closed his eyes briefly, breathing hard. When he opened them again, the girl was still there, still holding his arm, and for the first time since the blast, John felt he was not completely alone. But the circle of aliens had not stepped away fully. They watched him like hunters, waiting to see if the creature before them was prey or predator, and deep inside his chest the light continued to pulse, stronger with each heartbeat. John could not explain it, but he felt it. Something inside him had changed forever. The chamber was silent except for the faint hum of energy that flowed through its walls. John lay half upright on the smooth surface, the alien girl still clinging to his arm around them. The circle of tall figures stood unmoving, their glowing eyes fixed on him. He felt like an insect under a magnifying glass, studied, judged, and trapped. The whispers began again, sharp and low. John could not understand their words, but he could feel the weight behind them. Some voices carried suspicion, others curiosity, and a few almost sounded afraid. The tall alien with the staff raised his hand, silencing the rest. His glowing gaze swept over John as if trying to pierce through his very soul. John's chest still pulsed with faint light. Every beat of his heart sent a shimmer across the strange scars. The aliens noticed it, their eyes narrowing further. One of them stepped forward, pointing at the glow as if it were dangerous. Another shook his head, his tone calm but firm. The disagreement grew louder, their voices echoing through the chamber like a storm. The girl squeezed John's arm tighter. Her silver eyes filled with fear. She spoke quickly in her language, her voice trembling yet brave. Her words were sharp, almost scolding, directed at the elders who argued above her. The tall alien lowered his staff again. Silencing them once more, he looked at the girl, then at John, his expression unreadable. John tried to speak, his voice rough. "I don't know what you want. I only wanted to save her." His words fell heavy in the silence. Though the aliens did not understand his language, something in his tone made them pause. The girl looked at him, then turned back to the circle, repeating his words in her own tongue. Her small voice carried louder than expected. Echoing through the chamber, the elders exchanged glances, their faces unreadable. One of them moved closer, holding a device shaped like a crystal disc. It glowed softly as he brought it near John's chest. Symbols appeared in the air again, spinning and shifting like living fire. The alien frowned, speaking rapidly to the others. From their reaction, John could tell they had found something impossible. The girl gasped softly, pointing at the symbols. She touched her necklace, pressing it against John's chest. The glow from both his scars and the necklace pulsed together, merging into one rhythm. The room filled with a faint vibration, like the heartbeat of the chamber itself. The elders stepped back instinctively, their whispers turning into alarm. The tall alien slammed his staff on the ground, sending a shockwave of silence across the room. For a moment, all eyes turned toward John. He felt the pressure of their stares, the suspicion in their silence. Why would a human risk his life for an alien child? They seemed to ask. Humans were not trusted here. He could sense that truth in their voices, and yet, he had done something none of them expected. He had given his body to protect her. The girl stepped forward now, away from John's side. Her voice rang out clear and strong, no longer trembling. She spoke with fire in her tone, her words sharp like a blade. The aliens listened, their eyes widening, their silence deepening. John could not understand her words, but he understood the feeling. She was defending him. She was telling them that he was not like the others, that he was different. The tall alien tilted his head, his glowing eyes narrowing at the girl. Then he turned his gaze back to John with slow steps. He approached and lowered his staff. He extended his hand, not in welcome but in examination. His fingers brushed against John's chest where the glow pulsed strongest. John felt a surge of warmth shoot through him, almost knocking the breath from his lungs. Visions flashed behind his eyes, stars colliding, ruins of ancient cities and a symbol carved into stone. He gasped, pulling away, but the elder held steady. When the visions faded, John collapsed back onto the bed, his chest burning. The elder's face was unreadable, yet his glowing eyes held something new, fear. He stepped back, his voice low as he spoke to the others. The whispers returned, heavier now, the kind of whispers that spoke of danger. John's hands curled into fists, frustration boiling inside him. He wanted answers. He wanted to know why they looked at him like a weapon. But the girl returned to his side. Placing her tiny hand over his, her touch calmed him. Her eyes filled with trust. For her sake, he forced himself to stay silent. To endure their stares, he realized that in this place, her voice carried more weight than his. The circle of elders finally broke, some leaving the chamber while others remained. The tall alien spoke one last time, his tone heavy. The guards returned, their weapons glowing faintly once again. John understood enough. He was not free. He was not trusted. He was a mystery to them, a human who should have died, but now carried something they could not explain. As the doors closed with a low hum, John lay back, his chest still glowing. The girl rested her head against his arm. Refusing to leave his side, the silence returned. But now it was heavier, colder. John realized he was being watched, not as a guest, but as a test. The silent watchers had judged him, but their verdict was not yet clear, and deep inside, The strange energy in his chest pulsed stronger, as if preparing him for something greater. The chamber lights dimmed as the elders left, leaving only the hum of machines and the glow of John's chest. He lay still, his breathing heavy, the girl curled at his side like a small shadow. He tried to make sense of what had happened, the explosion, the pain, the whispers, and now this strange light inside him. None of it made sense, yet he was alive when he should have been dead. Hours passed in silence, or maybe it was minutes, he could not tell. Time felt strange in this place, stretching and folding like the walls themselves every so often. He opened his eyes to find guards standing at the corners, unmoving, their glowing weapons aimed loosely at him. He knew he was not free, he was a prisoner. Though alive, at last the tall elder returned, his staff glowing faintly in the dim room. Behind him came two more figures, one carrying a strange box, the other a shimmering tablet covered in moving symbols. The girl sat up quickly, holding John's arm tighter, her silver eyes fierce as if daring them to come closer. The elder raised a hand and the guards lowered their stance slightly. Though their suspicion did not fade, the figure with the box stepped forward. Opening it slowly, inside were crystals, glowing with different colors, shifting like liquid fire. He selected one and placed it against John's chest. The crystal pulsed and John felt warmth spread through him. Not painful but overwhelming. Visions flickered again, an alien battlefield, figures running, explosions of light, and then a necklace glowing just like the girl's. John gasped, pulling away, his chest burning with the same rhythm. The elder spoke, his voice deep, echoing in the chamber. The girl listened, then turned to John, her face soft but serious, though he could not understand her words fully. Her eyes told him everything. This was not an accident. What had saved him was something ancient, something meant to protect. The elder lifted his staff and drew a symbol in the air, glowing lines that floated above John's body. The lines matched the scars on his chest. Pulsing in the same rhythm, the girl gasped softly, touching her necklace as if realizing a hidden truth. Her voice rose, questioning the elder sharply, but his only answer was silence. Finally, he looked at John with eyes that seemed both awed and afraid. The elder spoke again, and the girl translated in broken words. He say, "The light, it choose you, not by chance, by bond." John frowned, his voice rough. Bond? With who? The girl touched her chest, then his, her silver eyes wide. With me. The words sank into him like stone, heavy and unshakable. John stared at her, memories flashing back. The moment he had thrown himself over her. The glow, the whispers, the warmth that kept him alive. It was her necklace, her power, her presence that had fused with him. He was alive not because of luck, but because he had chosen to protect her. And now something inside him had changed, something that bound them together. The elder continued, his voice steady. The girl struggled with the words but managed. You carry, fragment of our power, old as stars. Dangerous if not guided. John clenched his fists, anger and confusion rising. I didn't ask for this. The girl shook her head, her tone soft but unyielding. You saved me. Now it inside you. Gift, curse, both. John's chest pulsed brighter for a moment. As if responding to the words, the guards shifted nervously. Gripping their weapons tighter, the elder slammed his staff once on the ground. Calming the tension, he spoke again, his tone final. The girl whispered, You live. But now you carry our burden. They fear you, but they also need you. John sank back against the cold surface, his mind spinning. The idea of carrying alien power inside him felt unreal. Yet the proof glowed with every beat of his heart. He wanted to reject it, to tear it out, but part of him knew there was no going back. He had survived something no human should. And now he was something more than human. The girl reached for his hand, her small fingers wrapping around his. Her eyes glistened with both hope and fear. You're not alone, she whispered, her voice trembling but strong. John looked at her and felt a strange calm, as if her presence kept the chaos inside him at bay. He realized then that this bond was not just power. It was trust, it was family. But the silence of the room told him the truth. Others did not see it the same way. To them he was a weapon, a mystery, maybe even a threat. The elder's gaze lingered on him, filled with something unspoken. John knew that as much as this power had saved him, it had also marked him. And now, his survival came with a price. Outside the chamber, faint echoes of alarms rang through the alien halls. Shadows moved quickly, voices raised in urgency. The elder turned sharply, his staff glowing brighter. The girl stiffened, her grip on John's hand tightening. Something was coming, something that would test the gift inside him. And deep in his chest, the alien light pulsed stronger, as if preparing him for a battle he did not yet understand. The alarms grew louder through the alien halls. Sharp and urgent like war drums, John sat up with difficulty, the glow in his chest flaring brighter as if responding to the chaos. The girl held his arm tightly, her silver eyes darting to the door with fear. The elder raised his staff and barked sharp orders. His voice heavy with command, guards rushed into the chamber, their weapons glowing like spears of light. They spoke quickly, their voices trembling with tension. John could not understand their words, but he understood the meaning. Danger was near. The elder turned toward him, his glowing eyes fixed with intensity. The girl whispered, translating brokenly, "They say, enemies come. They want me, and maybe you." John's heart pounded, his chest pulsing in rhythm with the alarms. He pushed himself to his feet, swaying from weakness but refusing to fall. The girl tried to steady him, her small frame shaking yet unyielding. He looked down at her and whispered softly, "I won't let them take you." Though she did not understand the words, she seemed to feel the promise. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing another group of aliens different from the guards. Their armor was darker, their faces harsher, their eyes burning with malice. They carried jagged weapons that hissed with sparks of energy. The guards raised their spears in defense, the air crackling with tension. The intruders shouted, pointing at John and the girl. The elder slammed his staff on the ground, the walls trembling in response. Symbols of light swirled in the air, creating a barrier between the two groups. But the barrier flickered, unstable, as if it would not last long. The girl clung tighter to John, hiding partly behind him. The intruders' eyes burned with hatred as they pointed at her necklace. John understood instantly. They had come for her, for the power she carried. And now, because of the bond, for him as well. One of the intruders raised his weapon, firing a crackling bolt of energy. The barrier shook violently, shards of light scattering like glass. John's chest flared in response, sending a shockwave through his body. He staggered, clutching his chest, feeling the alien power pushing against his veins. It was as if the energy wanted to be used, wanted to fight. The elder shouted again, but the intruders pressed harder. The barrier finally shattered with a deafening crack. Chaos exploded as guards clashed with the attackers, weapons colliding with flashes of light. Screams echoed through the chamber, sparks and flames filling the air. John felt the girl pulling him back, her voice trembling. "Run," she whispered. But he shook his head firmly. He could not abandon her. Not after everything. Instead, he placed himself in front of her, his chest glowing like fire. An intruder charged straight at them, weapon raised high. John's instincts took over. His hand shot forward, and from his palm burst a wave of light. It slammed into the attacker, sending him crashing into the wall with a scream. The room froze for a moment, everyone staring in shock. John looked at his own hand, trembling, the glow fading slowly. He could hardly believe what he had just done. The girl's eyes widened, her voice soft with awe. "You, power," the guards murmured in disbelief. The intruders snarling with rage. Now they wanted him even more. The fight grew fiercer, enemies pressing forward. Determined to claim their prize, John fought clumsily but with desperation, every strike fueled by his will to protect. Each time he moved, the glow in his chest flared, sending bursts of light that shielded or struck. The girl never left his side, her small voice guiding him, pulling him back when he faltered. Together they moved as one, protector and child bound by fire. The elder watched with narrowed eyes. He saw the way John's power responded not to command, but to emotion, to the bond he shared with the girl. The elder raised his staff once more, sending a wave of force that pushed the intruders back, but the strain showed in his face. The old power fading quickly, the attackers regrouped, their leader stepping forward. His voice was sharp, his eyes burning with hatred. He pointed at John and the girl, declaring words John could not understand. But the meaning was clear enough: surrender or be destroyed. John stood tall, blood still dripping from old wounds, but his chest glowing bright. He wrapped one arm protectively around the girl. His voice was low but strong. "You'll never take her?" The girl repeated his words in her language, her small voice defiant. The sound echoed louder than expected, silencing the chamber. The intruders sneered and advanced, but John was ready. The glow within him pulsed like a living heart. He felt the warmth spreading. Not painful now, but powerful for the first time. He did not fight it, he embraced it. The bond between him and the girl burned brighter, their hearts beating as one. Light erupted from his chest, flooding the chamber with brilliance. The attackers shielded their eyes. Stumbling back in fear, the guards steadied themselves. Rallying behind the glow, the elder raised his staff, his voice booming, driving the intruders out. When the light finally faded, the chamber was scarred, the intruders retreating into the shadows. John collapsed to one knee, panting heavily, the girl rushing to steady him. Her silver eyes shimmered with both fear and admiration. "You fight, for me," she whispered, her voice trembling. John gave a faint smile, whispering back, "Always." The elder approached slowly. His gaze heavy, he looked at John, then at the girl, then back at the fading battlefield. His voice was quiet but firm. "Human, not enemy, but fire," the girl translated softly. John did not fully understand, but he knew one thing clearly. He was no longer just a stranger here, he was something more. The chamber walls still echoed with the clash of weapons. Though silence had returned for the moment, John stood weakly, his chest dim but still glowing, the girl clutching his arm as if afraid he would disappear. The guards moved quickly, sealing the broken door with heavy metal slabs. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the attackers returned. The elder leaned heavily on his staff, his glowing eyes scanning John with intensity. There was no more denial now, no more whispers of doubt. They had all seen the truth. John carried a power that was no longer human alone, a gift or a curse that could turn the tide of what was coming. The girl whispered to him, her voice soft, "They come again, more strong." John nodded slowly, though fear gnawed inside him. He was no soldier, no chosen warrior. He was just a man who wanted to protect a child. Yet here he was, standing at the edge of a war he barely understood. The alarms shifted, their pitch rising like a howl in the night outside. The alien city trembled under the weight of assault. Shadows moved beyond the windows, strange ships descending. Casting fire into the streets, the sky glowed red with flames, and screams rose from the distance. The elder turned to his people, shouting sharp commands. The guards rushed to their positions, forming a defensive wall before the chamber. One of them handed John a weapon, sleek and alien, its surface humming with energy. John hesitated, then gripped it firmly, though the glow in his chest told him that his real weapon was already inside. The girl would not leave his side, no matter how much the elders urged her to hide. Her silver eyes burned with defiance, her small hand clutching his tightly. John tried to convince her softly, "Stay behind me. Stay safe." She shook her head, whispering, "I stay. Always." The walls shook violently as another explosion tore through the outer barrier. Dust and shards rained down, the guards bracing themselves. The intruders poured in like a tide of shadows, armored figures with weapons blazing. Their leader's voice rang above the chaos, pointing at John and the girl, declaring them the prize. The battle erupted in fire and screams. Guards clashed with attackers, the air sparking with light and blood. John raised the alien weapon, firing bolts of energy that slammed into the enemies. Each shot sent a jolt up his arm, the glow in his chest pulsing in sync. The girl's cries guided him, warning him of strikes he could not see. Together they moved like one heart, one mind fighting to survive, but the enemy was endless, shadows crawling through every crack. Their weapons burned hotter, their voices chanting as if fueled by hate itself. The chamber began to crumble, pieces of stone falling with every impact. The defenders were strong, but slowly they were pushed back. John staggered as a blast struck near him, throwing him to the ground. The girl screamed, rushing to his side, her small hands pressing against his chest. The glow inside him flared, brighter than ever. His pain turned to fire, his fear to strength. He rose with a roar, light bursting from his body, creating a shield that held back the attackers. The intruders faltered, shielding their eyes from the brilliance. The guards rallied behind him, their voices rising in unity. For a brief moment the tide shifted, hope sparking in the smoke-filled air. The elder raised his staff high, amplifying the light. The chamber shone like a star against the darkness pressing in. But hope came at a cost. John's body shook violently, the energy burning through his veins like fire. Every heartbeat felt heavier, every breath sharper. He knew this power was not meant for him, yet he refused to stop. He had promised to protect her, and nothing else mattered. The enemy leader pushed forward through the chaos, His armor glowed black, his weapon crackling with dark energy. He shouted in rage, pointing his weapon at John. The blast struck the shield, shattering it with a thunderous crack. John fell to one knee, his chest burning, blood dripping from his lips. The girl rushed to him, her voice breaking. "No. No, leave me," she cried, holding him tightly. John forced a weak smile, whispering, "I'm not leaving." The glow in his chest flickered, dimming, then surged again, brighter than before. This time it was not just light, it was fire. Alive and furious, with one last surge, John stood again. The girl at his side, the fire spread across his arms, his eyes glowing faintly with the same silver light as hers. He stepped forward, no longer just a man, but something reborn. The intruders faltered, their leader hesitating as the air trembled with his power. The elder's voice rang out over the chaos. "Guardian," he declared, his tone filled with awe and certainty. The word echoed through the chamber, carrying across the defenders. John did not understand the language, but he understood the meaning in this moment. To them, he was no longer just a stranger. He was their protector. The battle raged on, but now the defenders fought with renewed strength. John led them, every strike of his glowing hand pushing back the shadows. The girl never left his side, her presence the anchor that kept him steady. The siege of shadows had begun, and John was at its heart. And though his body bled and his strength waned, his spirit burned brighter than the fire around him. For he knew the truth. He would rather fall 1,000 times than let her be taken. And the light within him agreed, pulsing with fury, promising that this fight was far from over. The chamber was half destroyed, smoke curling through the cracks of broken walls. Bodies of guards and intruders lay scattered, glowing weapons still sparking in the dust. John stood at the center, his chest blazing with light. Every breath heavy, every movement a battle. The girl clung to his arm, her small frame trembling but her silver eyes burning with faith. The enemy leader staggered back, his black armor cracked and glowing faintly from John's last strike. He snarled, shouting orders, but his soldiers hesitated, their fear plain. They had seen what John had become, a human carrying fire not of his own kind. The elder stepped forward, raising his staff high, his voice booming through the chamber. The word repeated again. "Guardian." Echoing like thunder, the attackers faltered, their leader roaring in anger. He lunged at John with his weapon raised, a blade of dark energy that hissed in the air. John's chest pulsed and the fire within him surged. He met the strike with his bare hand, the blade crashing against a shield of light that burst from his skin. The shockwave threw both of them back, the chamber shaking from the impact. John hit the ground hard, his chest burning like molten iron. The girl cried out, rushing to him. Pressing her small hands against his wounds, her necklace glowed, silver light merging with his fire. Together, their bond flared brighter than ever before. The flame spread, wrapping around them like a shield. Pushing the darkness away, the enemy leader roared again, forcing his soldiers forward, but the flames expanded. Filling the chamber with brilliance, the shadows recoiled, their weapons sparking uselessly against the wall of light. For the first time, John felt control, not of power alone, but of connection. The girl's heartbeat matched his, her silver glow guiding his fire. Together, they were unbreakable. The attackers broke ranks, fear overtaking rage. One by one, they stumbled back, retreating into the shadows from which they had come. The enemy leader cursed, his body trembling with fury. But even he saw the truth. This fight was lost. With a final glare at John, he retreated, his soldiers vanishing into the smoke. Silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the crackle of flames and the labored breaths of survivors. The guards lowered their weapons slowly, their glowing eyes fixed on John, not with suspicion now, but with awe. The elder stepped closer, his staff tapping softly against the ground. He bowed his head slightly, a gesture heavy with respect. The girl leaned against John, whispering softly, "You saved all of us." John exhaled, his body trembling, his chest still glowing faintly. He looked around at the ruined chamber, at the faces staring at him. He was no longer just a stranger, no longer just a man who had stumbled into their world. He was something else, something they now needed. The elder spoke slowly, his words deep and steady. The girl translated with effort, her voice carrying meaning beyond her years. "They say, you're not just human now. You are chosen, bound by fire, by me." Her silver eyes met his, filled with both wonder and fear. John reached out, brushing her hair gently, his voice soft. I only wanted to keep you safe. She nodded, her small hands clutching his tightly. You did, and more, for a moment. There was peace in the ruined hall. The survivors gathered, their whispers no longer filled with suspicion but reverence. John felt the weight of their stares, heavy but different now, not fear, not judgment, but trust, and yet deep inside the fire pulsed again, stronger than ever. It was not done with him, he could feel it. The elder raised his staff one last time. The chamber glowed faintly, repairing itself piece by piece. Stone shifting back into place, he looked at John and spoke solemnly. The girl translated, "This is only beginning. Power inside you grow. Enemies will come again." John clenched his fists, nodding slowly. "Then I'll be ready." The girl pressed against him, her voice soft but sure. "We be ready. Together." Her words echoed in his mind, sealing the truth. They were bound now, not just by accident. Not just by survival, but by something far deeper. A bond forged in fire and sacrifice as the flames in his chest dimmed to a steady glow. John looked around. He was surrounded, not by suspicion, not by enemies, but by allies, by family. The girl's silver light and his human fire had become one. And though the road ahead promised more battles, more pain and more shadows, he knew the truth clear and unshakable. He was no longer a man lost in an alien world. He was a protector, a guardian, bound forever by the fire that had chosen him. And as the city outside smoldered under the weight of war, John stood tall, the girl at his side, surrounded not by enemies but by those who now called him one of their own.